Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Silverstone for the third race of the weekend for the Cooper Tyres British Formula 3 Championship. It's the sixth race of the season, and we are about to see a 30-minute race on what is a reasonably nice day at Silverstone. 16.3 degrees, the air temperature, the track temperature at 26.7, but crucially there's no rain. Rain has blighted the first, well, all of the weekend so far for British Formula 3. The qualifying session was wet, the first race was wet, the second race became wet towards the end of it. But hopefully here, looking at that sky, we should have smiles all round, sunglasses all around, because the rain does not look like it will come. What will come, though, are the cars to the grid, and that is Martin Chow, the man who will start on pole position. These times dictated by the best qualifying times from the qualifying session, and it'll be Martin Chow on pole position there, weaving around. He is the man who is currently leading the Drivers' Championship after a strong start to the season. He's finished second in every single race so far, and he's on 72 points. Second in the championship is Andy Chang. He's on 47 points, so Martin Chow building up quite an impressive margin up at the front. Matt Rouse in third place, but neither he or Andy Chang finished the race yesterday. It was an action-packed afternoon of racing, and eventually the red flag was brought out because Matt Rouse went out on wet tyres, but the tyres weren't properly attached to his car, so one rolled off, he spun off, and the red flag was thrown because it was getting wetter and wetter. And it was Marvin Kachoffer who took the race win, his first win in British Formula 3, and that immediately elevates him to 6th place in the championship standings, as this is only the second round of the season. The first round took place at Rockingham. Two of the races there were won by Sam McLeod, but unfortunately he's not here racing this weekend. There is Andy Chang, second place man in the championship then. And there's Marvin Kachoffer, the German, who will be starting second on the grid. From third on the grid yesterday, he launched himself into the lead of the race by the time they got to Copse Corner, and unfortunately there was a collision between Igor Rudchev and Andy Chang, which sent them both out of the race. But it's good to see all the cars have made it back out and will be taking part in the race today, which, as I say, will be 30 minutes long. Pretty blustery here at Silverstone. The flag's flying very strongly as Kachoffer gets some heat into the rear tyres on his way towards the grid. This is just the reconnaissance lap. They'll be heading off for their green flag lap after this. As you can see, the ensemble waiting to greet them into their grid slots for this race around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. The full circuit in use as we chase the F3 cars down towards their grid positions. 2 cars from Carlin, 3 cars from Fortec, and 2 from RR make up the grid. So although it is a compressed field, we're still full of teams that have been very successful over the past few years. Most noticeably Carlin, of course, who have won every championship since 2008 with Jaime Alguersuari. Daniel Ricciardo won the championship in 2009. Jean-Eric Verne won it in 2010, and all 3 of those drivers making it to Formula 1. Felipe Nasser, currently the Williams reserve driver, he won in 2011. Jack Harvey's staging a successful career over in the States. He won in 2012, and Jordan King, champion last year. But there's Martin Chow waiting on pole position. The 21-year-old Chinese racer finished third here at Silverstone last season in the Formula Renault BARC Championship. Born in Hunan. As we then see Marvin Kachoffer there, racing for Fortec Motorsports, making his British Formula 3 debut. The 20-year-old German from Leipzig has had 2 fifth-place finishes in the first 2 races of the GP3 season with ART Grand Prix. He will also have a presence here this weekend, racing in the Blancpain Endurance Series. Andy Chang, unfortunately forced out of the race yesterday But the Macanese driver will be hoping to make up for that and make some good progress up the order. It was the second best qualifying times, my apologies, that formed the grid for this race as the safety car pulls away, the Lamborghini Aventador safety car, as you do. Fortec first and second on the grid, and also in fourth there with Matt Rao, who was the man who looked like he might be on for victory yesterday when he came into the pits to switch to wet tyres. But they weren't attached correctly. One of them came flying off and he ended up out of the race, so wasn't to be for Matt Rao. He has taken one win so far this season already at Rockingham at the opening meeting of the season. Won the third race, and there is Li Shikong. He was the first man to change onto wet tyres yesterday, and he will be starting on the third row of the grid in fifth position. His best result has been fifth place this season, which he picked up at Rockingham. Until yesterday, of course, where he finished in third because of the red flag. Cameron Kaminski, unfortunately, ended his race in the tyre barriers yesterday, but it's good to see the Double R boys have got the car back together and all set to head out onto the circuit for the third race of the weekend. And then behind him at the back of the grid, Igor Rudchev, the man who stormed to the race one victory. He will have to start this third race right from the back of the field. He retired instantly at Copse corner, at the first corner yesterday after the collision with Andy Chang. Hopefully he can perform a little stronger today. So an interesting race with a bit of a mixed up grid. Very interesting to see how this race will unfold. 30 minutes long. You can see the teams, the grid girls and the like, making their way off the grid now. Leaving Martin Chow all alone on pole position. He was on pole for the first race as well, but couldn't keep the lead. Igor Rudchev made his way through down into the left-hander of Vale. And from then on was nowhere near being stopped, really. So the British Formula 3 field about to take to this 3.66 miles Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. And certainly the last two races here have been entertaining. But what can Igor Rudchev do from the back of the field? That's going to be very interesting, I think, because the 18-year-old Russian is looking very strong this weekend, and in general he was second in the opening Formula Renault Euro Cup race of the season at Aragon. Of course, these Formula 3 cars are a lot more powerful and a lot more difficult to control. So it's quite a steep learning curve. Comfortably the fastest thing he's ever driven, Igor Rudchev, having raced in Formula Renault Euro Cup, as I say, 10th in French Formula 4 in 2012. And he's also raced down in the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand at the start of this year. So there we see the F3 cars. The grid is cleared. And the green flag lap will be underway in just a few moments' time. The revs rise as the green flag is waved at the front of the field, and Martin Chow will pull away. The SMP Racing logo on the side of Igor Rudchev. SMP, a prominent Russian team. He's being run by Carlin. But SMP running cars in all sorts of endurance and sprint championships around the world, including at times the Blancpain Endurance Series. But it'll be Martin Chow, former Ford Formula Campus champion in China. Took 5 wins from 8 races back in 2008 when he beat Gao Xiangfan to the title. As they all weave to try and get some heat into their tyres. There's a Rudchev at the back, so he's one to watch. So's Cameron Kaminsky, I think, in these dry conditions. But let's have a look at the grid once more as they come down through the Vale. It's Chow on pole position. Alongside him, Kachofa. It's Chang and Rao on the second row of the grid. Li Shikong and Cameron Kaminsky will be in 5th and 6th positions. And then at the back, Igor Rudchev, the Russian, hoping to make his way up through the field. As they weave now around towards the village hairpin. What can Martin Chow do off the start here? And can Marvin Kachofa make another great start? He went from 3rd to 1st yesterday when the lights went out. And he's a man with a great deal of experience with Formula 3 cars. He's the reigning German Formula 3 champion, Marvin Kachofa. Took 12 wins and 24 podiums from 25 races in the championship. A phenomenal performance from him. And as a result, he seems to be the most competent at getting the car off the line. Will that be the case today? He will have the inside line going down towards Copse if he can. And if he can get into the lead of the race, he may well be able to boss it from there on in. But it'll be Martin Chow, the 21-year-old Chinese driver, on pole position. He missed free practice 1 because he was studying and taking an exam at Kiel University. Made it back for free practice 2 and qualifying. And he will be lining up on pole position. 2nd place in every race so far this season. Can he break that duck today and take victory? Or will he break it and finish lower than 2nd? I'm sure he won't be hoping for that. Cars on the grid then for the 6th round of the 2014 Cooper Tires British Formula 3 Championship. 5-second board is held aloft. The red lights come on. It's pole position for Martin Chow. Alongside him is his Vortec teammate Marvin Kachofa as the lights go out. And Chow immediately goes to the inside line, but he's not quick enough because Kachofa's into the lead. Chow's in 2nd place. It looks like it's going to be 3rd position for Matt Rao. So Vortec 1, 2 and 3 on the exit of Copse. Down towards Beckett's and Maggots. It's very close to the 3rd position though. And actually, it might just be the double R car of Andy Chang who holds on to that 3rd place. Started in 4th, started in 3rd, sorry, and he's now held on to that 3rd place, even though Matt Rao attempted to get past. Down onto the hangar straight they come. Battles behind between Kaminsky and Igor Rudchev. They're going side by side. Sorry, it's Li Shikong and Rudchev. But here's the look from Matt Rao around the outside at Stowe. He's pulled it off. Great move from Matt Rao. He moves up into 3rd position. Now it is Vortec 1, 2, 3. Down into Vale. And Andy Chang drops to 4th place. 5th then at the moment is Cameron Kaminsky. 6th place for that man there, Igor Rudchev. He comes out past the Silverstone wing and is in the slipstream. Nothing doing going into Abbey. Oh, someone's gone wide up in front. Andy Chang has gone very, very wide. That could allow an attack from Kaminski to go around the outside into the village hairpin, and indeed it does. So Kaminski goes through. Rutchev is showing his nose up the inside there as well in the all-blue Carlin machine as opposed to the blue and white double R machines. But we've now got Kaminski then up into 4th place. But for how much longer? Because he's coming under a lot of pressure. Nothing doing so far for Andy Chang. He goes very, very deep into Brooklands, and that'll put him under pressure from Igor Rutchev before too long. Li Kong has now slipped back to 7th place. As across the line to complete that one. Marvin Kachofa leads with a 1.139 second advantage. Then it's Chow, then it's Rao, then it's Kaminski, Chang, Rutchev and Kong. Little run wide there from the Carlin car of Rutchev. That's what he did in the start of the race yesterday. And there is intermittent smoke coming from the back of Andy Chang's car. I noticed that coming down the Wellington Straight. We saw it again there. Whether it's anything too dramatic, we'll have to wait and see. As they come out of the Hangar Straight, it's a 4-way queue, but here now comes Rutchev. He looks to the outside of Andy Chang on the run down into Stowe. Chang has the inside, but there's nothing he can do, and Rutchev breezes past. And that is now 5th place for the Russian. The next man for him to set his sights on is Cameron Kaminski. Kaminski in the blue and white 34 car in front of Rutchev. The American was born in Ohio, lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. When he races in the UK, he lives in Cambridge. But he's now going to have to do a lot of rearguard action. Look at the speed Rutchev took through Abbey. And he looks to the inside, coming down into the Heaven Village. He's gone very, very deep, but he gets the car stopped. And that is now 4th position for Igor Rutchev. So he's in 4th place. It's 5th place for Kaminski, 6th place now then for Andy Chang, and 7th place for Li Kong. Up at the front, Marvin Kachofa is going pretty quickly. He's pulled out a couple of, well, actually 0.7 of a second on this lap so far over Martin Chow in 2nd place. The 2 double R cars, nose to tail then, as they come out and through Woodcote Corner. The gap at the front is up to 2.2 seconds. But it's pretty close from 4th place downwards, 4th through 7th. Oh, and that's very, very wide. I think that's Andy Chang. Not really braking at all for the first corner at Copse, as he desperately tries to close in on Cameron Kaminski in front of him. So that's Kaminski there. And then behind is Andy Chang there in the number 8 double R machine. And they've got Li Kong for company as well. Igor Rutchev is 4 seconds behind Matt Rao, so that'll be a tough ask for the Russian to climb up into the top 3. But we've still got 25 minutes remaining in this race, as they throw the cars into Stowe Corner. Kaminski doing a good job in that 5th place at the moment. Cars 3 and 8 must respect track limits at turn 1. Well, we saw Andy Chang taking the mick a little bit with the amount of runoff he was using. Didn't see Marvin Kachofa going through, but he has just set the fastest first sector of anyone in the race so far. So perhaps that's via using the parts of the track that he maybe shouldn't do. So Li Kong right on the back of Andy Chang for 6th place. There's our top 3. It's pretty close for 2nd still. Only 1.2 seconds between Martin Chow and Matt Rao. And then the 4 blue cars of Rutchev, Kaminski, Chang and Kong. As they turn through Brooklands. Now into the long right-hander at Luffield. But here's our race leader, Marvin Kachofa. Across the line he comes now with a 3.3 second advantage. So he's going just over a second quicker every lap than anyone else in the field. The gap has come down for 2nd place though. Matt Rao lapped a little quicker and is now just a smidgen under a second behind Martin Chow in 2nd place. out onto the hanger straight. And it looks as though Matt Rao is getting closer, isn't he? He's getting into that middle zone between where you get the slipstream, but you also start to pick up some of the dirty air. He kicked up a bit of grass as well on the way into Stowe, using all of the track he possibly can. Orudchev has just set his fastest first sector of the race so far, and there was a big lock up there from Chow, not really troubling the apex of Vale, so this looks as though he's getting a little bit rattled. There you can see the last couple of laps, he's taken half a second out of Martin Chow in second place. Meanwhile, Kuchoffer continues to go quicker and quicker up at the front. A 34.498 in sector 1 is a good half a second quicker than anyone else. As Matt Rao turns through Aintree. Formula 4 Duratec class champion in 2012. And he raced in the BARC Formula Renault Championship last year with the best of third place at Snetterton. He's already taken a win, as I said earlier, at Rockingham. Third round of the championship he won. I don't think he'll win this one though, because Marvin Kuchoffer is romping away at the front. There he is, turning through Copse Corner before Chow even really comes into sight, and the gap is now 4.8 seconds between first and second places. But then the gap comes down again for third place, so for second place rather, so it's only 0.7 of a second. Orudchev has taken 0.7 of a second out of the third place man Matt Rao on that last lap as well, so the gaps are coming down from second, third and fourth. So those are our second podium men, Chow and Rao, but behind them in the distance you can just see, flashing through shot there, was the Carlin blue machine of Igor Orudchev. Again, another big lockup for Martin Chow coming down into the Vale. Out through Club. And again, a couple of tenths of a second have been taken out of Martin Chow's advantage on this lap already by Rao. And if these two start squabbling, it won't be long before Igor Orudchev comes into the battle. Big oversteering moment there for Matt Rao as he tries to get the power down. If anything, that might have just cost him a tenth or two as they come into Brooklands. Only 20 minutes to go here at Silverstone. It's the final race of the weekend for the Cooper Tires British Formula 3 Championship. And Martin Chow there in second place is the man leading the championship at the moment. Still plenty of rounds left though this season. The gap is now up to 6 seconds. What's Orudchev done on that last lap? He only gained half a second on the two guys in front, so the gap is now down to 2.5, but that's not quite the sort of pace I was expecting from Orudchev. Who's had a pretty strong early single-seater career. Final warning for Marvin Kuchoffer. We mentioned earlier on he's been given a warning for Copse, but now he's given a final warning. So if he keeps running all four wheels off the circuit, he could be in a spot of bother. So around here it's all fine. It's just at Copse Corner where he's taking in too much speed and using too much of the runoff on the outside of the circuit. He's very well behaved at Club as well. We'll wait and see whether he's got the message and is a little more neat through Copse this time around. He's raced for Team Lotus the past couple of years as part of their young driver development program in 2012 and 2013. He won the ADAC Formula Masters Championship in 2012 before going on to win German F3 last year. Also competing in GP3, as we mentioned. The final warning as well. Oh, and that's Igor Orudchev He's off the circuit. I think that's on the exit of Stowe. And there's also a very slow-moving Andy Chang. So have we seen a collision between them? Sorry, was that Andy Chang? No, it wasn't. Sorry, it was Li Shikong. My apologies. So we've got two slow Carlin cars, Li Shikong and Igor Ruchev. So, well, what has happened? The left rear of Ruchev's car seems to be in trouble. So, that's a shame. But it looks as though both Carlin machines are out of the race here at Silverstone. So that means Kaminsky's up into 4th place, Andy Chang now up into 5th spot. As out onto the hangar straight comes this continuing battle over 2nd place, and that's a shame because Igor Ruchev was closing down on the pair of them. But alas, it's now just going to be a squabble between these two for the 2nd spot on the podium. There you can see Ruchev walking away from his car on the run down into Vale. So it's, I wonder if those two incidents were related, because Ruchev was a long way up the road compared to Li Shikong. Yellow flags are out at the moment, no safety car, happily. But Martin Chow seems to have gapped Matt Rao a little. Okay, so Li Shikong stopped at turn 13, whereas Ruchev stopped at turn 7. So that's quite a long way apart, isn't it? Because 7, I think, is Stowe, where we saw where Ruchev stopped, and Li Shikong carried on around all the way up to this part of the circuit here. So maybe the two incidents weren't related, but there you can see the live snatch vehicle heading out there to take away Igor Ruchev's car, and the man from St. Petersburg will be disappointed with that after having to retire from yesterday's race as well, despite winning the opening race of the weekend in the wet conditions. And there you can see, walking away from his car, Li Shikong. No obvious signs of damage that I can spot there. Marvin Kachova still leading the way, 6 seconds clear. There you can just see him disappearing out of frame at the bottom. But it's this battle for 2nd place between Martin Chow, the man closest towards us, with the red helmet, versus Matt Rao with the white helmet with the orange and green flashes. It's a nice helmet, that though, actually, isn't it? It's very simple, very classic from Matt Rao. So 15.5 minutes to go here at Silverstone. We're reaching the halfway point of this race. Marvin Kachova leading the way, 6 seconds clear of Martin Chow. And you can see Kachova driving very nicely, has to be said. He's had a strong weekend. A little disappointing in the first race, as Igor Ruchev's car is hoisted clear. There's 1.3 seconds now between these two cars for 2nd and 3rd places, Chow and Rao. So that attack from Matt Rao never really materialised in the end, and Chow seems to be measuring the gap a little. As across the line comes our race leader, Marvin Kachova, once again getting a good start, as he did yesterday, which led him on to victory. Looks like it might be a similar story today. Look how much of the curve they use on the way into Copse, trying to maximise every single part of the circuit. We haven't heard any more about Marvin Kachova and track limits at turn 1, so hopefully he's reeled himself in a little bit, but you can see he's not really using all the track. Now he's got such a comfortable lead. Second place battle then comes down into Stowe. 5.2 seconds. So on that last lap, Marvin Kajoffa he lost about 0.7 of a second. So he's not exactly on it at the moment, Kajoffa, but he doesn't really need to be because he's got a relatively comfortable margin. Up into Abbey. German from Leipzig, using this to really show his domination, and you can see the margin has built back up to 6.2 seconds then. So he's got a second quicker than Zhao in that second sector alone. And this will also be useful for him because the GP3 championship comes here later in the season, and so he's getting to grips with the circuit so that when he comes here it won't be his first time, and that may give him the advantage. Everyone's enjoying themselves, watching the action as Kajoffa turns into Kops. 6.4 seconds clear now of Zhao. The gap between second and third has gone up as well to 1.6 seconds. Cameron Kaminski is a further 10 seconds back in fourth place, and then 3.8 seconds further back is Andy Chang. That is completing our runners for the moment. 12 minutes to go, the battle for second place. I wonder if Matt Rao is just backing off in order to then attack later on in the race. There you can see Cameron Kaminski up in fourth place. And he's not got too much of an advantage over Andy Chang. You can see Chang coming out of Chapel Curve. So any mistake from Kaminski, and he's going to be in trouble. Good to see Kaminski here in British Formula 3. 2 fourth place finishes were his best results at Rockingham, and it looks like he's on for another fourth place finish here. And how he will be ruining his mistake yesterday at Copse Corner when he crashed out, because he could have possibly had a podium finish. Such was the attrition yesterday. Only 11 minutes to go here at Silverstone, with Kajoffa again taking a second out of Martin Zhao in that middle sector. Of course, the middle sector here at Silverstone is pretty much where everything happens. All through Stowe, Club, and up into the new village complex that they're just coming through now. That's all the middle sector. Andy Chang's car looking spectacular all weekend, with the flames licking out the exhausts along the side. And he's taken a couple of tenths out of Kaminski in the middle sector on this lap, so has he been able to close the gap at all? Yes, he's closed it by 0.2 of a second. So 3.6 seconds separate Kaminski and Chang, but he goes very, very wide there, Andy Chang, and he's already been warned about that. So he'll have to be careful. Andy Chang, a relative newcomer to racing, really. He had his first season last year, the 17-year-old Macanese driver in Formula Ford EcoBoost. Had 6 races in the championship and had a best finish here, actually, at Silverstone, a 5th position. Before that, he did a few races in the Formula Master China Series. But here's this second place battle then. The gap has come down again to 1.1 seconds between Zhao in second and Rao in third. Another lockup from Zhao, and you just wonder how long will those tyres last if he keeps treating them like that. We've seen him lock up a number of times coming down into Vale. Rao looks closer than he's ever been, with less than 9 minutes to go. If he wants to do it, he needs to do it soon, as he turns into the long left-hander of Brooklands now. There's the old bridge circuit you could see. just in the background, the old bridge corner. As the cars come across the line, it was 1.1 seconds the gap between them. As they come across the line, now it's down to just under 0.7 of a second. So is this Matt Rowell's big push? As they flash through Beckett's. Such a difficult section of the circuit, and you can see Matt Rowell's keeping it all a lot neater through there, but Chow is nevertheless carrying pace. He's tucked right into the slipstream. Thinks about darting out. He's taken another 0.2 out, so the gap is down to under half a second now. Down into the Vale. It's one thing catching the driver in front, it's another thing actually trying to find a way past. What can Matt Rowell do about Martin Chow in front of him? Both of them pushing very hard as we see the crane getting rid of the car of Li Shikong. Black and white flag for car number 8 for not respecting track limits at turn 1. That is Andy Chang, who we've seen a number of times going off towards Toaster. And there is the black and white flag. Into Brooklands comes our battle for second place. Meanwhile, our leader comes across the line, leading the way. It looks like something is flapping off the back of his car there. Hopefully that's not too much of a drama. Is that the rear rain light or something? But this could be problems for Marvin Kachoffa as they come through the Beckett's and Maggots section of the circuit. Driving very nicely. There's certainly something dangling. And, well, there's always the potential that the stewards might deem that to be dangerous and show him the meatball flag, which will force him to come into the pits and get that sorted. But with 6 minutes to go, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. It is flapping around. 6 minutes to go. What a commanding performance, nevertheless, this has been from Kachoffa. Over 12 laps, he's built up a lead of 10 seconds. Martin Chow's just done his personal best first sector, so the gap is back up to a second between these two drivers. Matt Rowell there in the 7 car in 3rd place. Up in front of him is Martin Chow. As I say, Chow lapping strongly in sector 1, going 0.3 of a second quicker than Rowell. Braking into the village hairpin, then through the loop, out through Aintree, that kicks them back out onto the Wellington Straight, and down towards Brooklands alongside the BRDC clubhouse. That middle sector saw Rowell claim a 1/10 of a second back, so they're battling it over 1/10 of a second here, with less than 5 minutes to go. Andy Chang, meanwhile, is still dropping away from Cameron Kaminski for 4th place, so Kaminski looks set to equal his best result of the season so far. Across the line we come to start lap 14. And the gap is 0.962 between Martin Chow and Matt Rowell in 2nd and 3rd places. The 21-year-old Chinese driver has finished in 2nd place all 5 of the races so far this season. So it looks like being another consistent performance for Chow. There's Cameron Kaminski. Finished 2nd in Formula Pacific F2000 back in 2012. Before moving up to British Formula Ford last year. He took a win here at Silverstone, but even though Formula Ford is a little more winged these days. It still takes a lot of getting used to, stepping up to a British Formula 3 car. Second and third place men into Abbey. Chow again does a personal best in the first sector, so the gap extends to over a second now. Out through Aintree. Again, Rao is quicker in the middle sector, so Chow stronger in sector 1, Rao stronger in sector 2. Chang is now 4.3 seconds back from Kaminsky, who is 13 seconds back from this battle. He's lapping a second or so slower. Marvin Kuchov has started to put the hammer down again. He's extended his advantage to 11.6 seconds. That last lap, he was 0.7 of a second quicker than this second place battle that comes over the crest of the hill, out of Copse Corner towards us here at Beckett's. Chow has really calmed down a little in these recent laps. He was starting to get a bit ragged when Matt Rao was coming up behind him. But Marvin Kuchoffer has been nothing but composed up at the front, looking for his second win of the weekend, his second win in British Formula 3 after taking the win in the afternoon race yesterday. And he's been a good 0.7 of a second quicker every lap at least than the cars behind. As he now comes down into the village hairpin. After this, the drivers will head to Snetterton in Norfolk for the next round of the championship. There's the continuing to dangle rain light. Rounds at Spa, Thruxton, Brands and Donington for the British Formula 3 Championship, as Marvin Kuchoffer comes into Luffield for the penultimate time. He'll be going on to start his final lap of the race. Kuchoffer hasn't set the ultimate lap in this race. His sector times add together to create a 55.178, but he's only managed a 55.268. So there's still just under 1/10 of a second left in there as he starts the final lap of the British F3 weekend here at Silverstone. Only 0.7 of a second, well 0.8 of a second really, as Chow and Rao cross the line. So it's now or never really for Matt Rao if he wants to claim that second place. This will be one of his best chances down into Stowe, but he doesn't look that close. They'll come through the first sector times in a minute, and we'll see. No, it's a strong first sector this time from Matt Rao. Took 0.4 of a second out of the gap, so it's now less than half a second for second and third place. Down towards Vale they come for the final time. It's got to be into the hairpin at Village, really. The checker flag is being readied. And that'll be waving for Marvin Kuchoffer, surely, because he's got a 12.3 second advantage. Here is the German, looking to take his second victory in British Formula 3. As he comes out of Aintree now, and down the Wellington Straight for the final time. Dominated German Formula 3 last year. As we see, second and third place is pretty close. Matt Rao's tucked underneath the slipstream, but I don't know if it's going to be close enough because he's only got one more overtaking opportunity. As Marvin Kuchoffer comes out of the final corner, he's going to take his second win of the weekend. His second win in British Formula 3, and a commanding one at that. Checker flag falls for Kuchoffer. He is the victor for Fortec Motorsport. Here's the battle for second place, and it is going to be Martin Chow who hangs on just ahead of Matt Rao for second position as they cross the line. Only 0.4 of a second between them at the flag. The American Cameron Kaminsky for Double R Racing exits Luffield Bend through Woodcote Corner, and he will take the checker flag to match his best performance of the season so far with a 4th place finish. And Andy Chang will finish in 5th position. But a Fortec 1, 2, 3, both Carlin cars retiring, 4th and 5th for Double R Racing. But what a commanding performance it was from Marvin Kachoffer. He's a pretty bright young thing, the German tip for success, and he's certainly put that success into motion here in the Cooper Tires British F3 Championship. He takes the win, 13.288 seconds clear of Martin Chow in 2nd place. Matt Rao finishing in 3rd, only half a second behind. Cameron Kaminsky in 4th place. It's 5th for Andy Chang. Igor Rudchev and Li Shikong not making it to the end of the race, both retiring on the same lap. Maybe they were linked, maybe they weren't. There you can see Kachoffer with his dangling light behind him. But that didn't cause him too much drama at the end of the day. A very strong performance from Kachoffer, and it all came from that start. 2nd on the grid he started, but he managed to get a better start than Martin Chow alongside him on the front row, and it's 6 out of 6 in terms of 2nd places for Martin Chow. That keeps him at the top of the championship standings as the drivers head to Snetterton next up. Here was the look of the start. Across came Martin Chow to try and stop Kachoffer getting through, but it was to no avail. Up into 3rd place initially was Andy Chang, but then coming around the outside of Stowe Corner was Matt Rao. A good move, and that made it a Fortec 1, 2, 3 that would never go away. Igor Rudchev had some fighting to do. He had to force his way past Kaminsky and Chang. Li Shikong was also involved in the battle. Rudchev got alongside Andy Chang going down the hangar straight. That was a fairly straightforward pass, and that gave him 5th position. And then into the hairpin at the Village Complex, he managed to take the pass for 4th place. Andy Chang was all 4 wheels off a couple of times, but then Rudchev had to retire with rear left damage. Li Shikong seemed to retire with no noticeable damage at all, so not quite sure what happened there. But it was Marvin Kachoffer who took victory. An excellent performance from him. He takes the checker flag, his 2nd win in British F3, but it's Chow who leads the championship.
We are, as ever, forever grateful for your efforts. So thank you to all the guys and girls in Orange who have been enjoying a bit more sunshine yesterday, and hope you're enjoying your weekend with us here at the Blancpain Endurance Series event at Silverstone.
But, especially yesterday, before